Hey, what's up, guys? This is Chris, aka Barnon11970. Thank you as always for checking out my video. And this is a quick little video I'm going to make. Well, I say quick, but who knows? You know me, I like to talk. But this is kind of in a response to a comment that I was going back and forth with King BSO, so I appreciate this for this little inspiration. And his comment was talking about how, you know, things are progressively getting worse and worse. Then it made me stop and think about, you know, being a massage therapist, I'm always telling people that when you're feeling pain, pain is your body's way of letting you know something's wrong. And if you ignore that pain, it progressively gets worse and worse because you're allowing it to create more and more damage. So initially somebody could injure themselves, have a pain in their neck or hurt their elbow or something and think, well, it's no big deal. It's not really bothering me. It's not stopping me from doing my daily routine. So, you know, it costs money to get it fixed or whatever, or it takes time away from my family, so I'll just ignore it. And then basically your body is kind of like a warning signal. It's trying to say to you, hello, McFly, I'm letting you feel pain to let you know there's a problem so you could fix it. If you fix the problem, there is no longer a problem. So if you're not going to listen, let me turn up the volume a little bit. And then all of a sudden that pain in the neck, all of a sudden it starts sending radiation energy down your arm. You start feeling tingling, or you start getting headaches or TMJ problems. So basically what I'm trying to say is, when you ignore the little things, eventually they become bigger and bigger. And let me ask anybody out there in this world, whether you like me, hate me, whether you believe in whatever's programmed to you or you don't believe it regardless, let me ask you a point-blank question. Is the world around us getting better? Yes or no? Are people all around the world, I'm not just saying specific groups, I'm talking the world in general, are people getting better, or are they getting worse? Are they getting wealthier, or are they getting poorer? Are they getting more knowledge, or being kept from knowledge? The point of the matter is, the reason that life is getting worse, and I fully believe that we're going on a pattern of going in the wrong direction, is that the average person says to themselves, well, it's not affecting me, so I don't have to do anything, or I don't want to do anything, or I'm afraid to do something. And what happens is, it progressively will get worse and worse and worse until one day it affects you. And then you will have no choice. But just like a simple little pain in the neck or an injury to your body that if you fixed it right away, you would eliminate a lot of the cost and a lot of aggravation and a lot more time to heal than if you were to wait until it gets to the point where you have no choice. And if you look at pain that way, it's a beautiful thing because it's a warning sign. It's a way to prevent you from having something bad happen later on. And most people in this world have the mentality of saying, I'll worry about it later. Well, ladies and gentlemen, eventually later comes. So even the people, whether you get paid to hate my channel or you just don't like me for whatever reason, you could sit there and say, well, I'm living quite comfortably. I don't see what's going on around the world, so why should I try and interrupt my well-being when it's not affecting me? Well, that may be true at the moment, but do you honestly think things are going to get better or worse? Do you think your children are going to appreciate the fact that their parents did nothing about it? What if all of a sudden they're the ones that suffer? And you could have prevented it by causing, at the very least, the ability to people to ask questions. So you really have to stop and think about why things are getting worse. And I'm not saying you yourself or you and your family or a bunch of people around where you live, you could say, well, I don't see that. It's wonderful here. I'm not talking about just you. Think grander than that. I'm talking about the whole world. I'm talking about all the people in the Gaza Strip, all those people that are being murdered left and right. I'm talking about all the people in the Middle East having their land being taken from them and their resources being stolen. I'm talking about people in Africa that are starving and can't even get water. I'm talking about people in this country, like the city of Detroit, where our own government allowed it to just basically go bankrupt, and they just ignored all of those people. The millions of people around the world who are starving, who are just barely getting by. It's not getting better. And that's because of our inactivity. It's our fear of wanting to think that we can do something. The day we decide to say enough is enough is the day we stop that change from going negative into something changing that is positive. Like, for example, like I said, if you injure your neck, you sneeze or whatever, or all of a sudden you feel a crink, if you fix it right away, you solve the problem. It doesn't get worse. If you ignore it, it does get worse. And anybody out there who has any kind of chronic pains, they know at one point it started most likely as a simple little thing that they could have fixed, but they ignored it. And most people react when it's too late or it's too damaging. I mean, think of it this way. If you just come into your house and as soon as you open the door, all of a sudden you see your kitchen sink, the pipe breaks and it's bursting water. What are you going to do? You're going to instantly fix it. In other words, you're going to react to a very severe problem, which means you're going to limit the damage. Because even though that pipe breaking is a bad thing, you act on it as soon as you can to limit the amount of damage it causes. So you fix the problem. Now just imagine if underneath that very sink, instead of the pipe bursting, there's just a little drip that you don't even know is there. And it drips maybe once or twice every 5 minutes. You might not ever notice that because maybe it's somewhere in the back of the cabinet. And then all of a sudden, 15 years down the line, you go to open the cabinet door and the whole bottom of the cabinet is mush. So little things that accumulate eventually cause more disaster because you think it's no big deal. So that's what they do with laws. That's what they do with all these criminal acts. They do a little bit at a time. So this way it's not enough to make you do anything, but enough to maybe aggravate you a little bit. But you'll accept it. And you'll say, well, it hasn't affected me yet, so I don't want to rock the boat. And that allows other families, other countries, other people, other human beings to suffer. So if you think you're doing good by doing nothing, all I have to ask you is, do you think the world in general is getting better? And if you can honestly say, yes, the world in general is getting better, then you're part of the problem or you're too ignorant to really be here. And I question your motives. Because again, you may be very wealthy. You may have a great stock job, great stock portfolio. You may have a lot of wealthy friends. So good for you that things are going well for you. But what about the country as a whole? Because if they decide to continue these pushes for war, which is pretty obvious at this point, who's to say it doesn't damage everyone? Because if you really think, even if you are on their good graces, if you really think they won't step over you, if it helps their agenda, if you don't think they'll do that to you too, even if you've been helping them all your time, you're sadly mistaken. So just ask anybody out there. Just say, is the world getting better? And if it isn't, then the people in charge are the ones doing it. But yet, we're allowing it. So if you do nothing, pretty much give your rights up to complain. Because what are you complaining about if you're not willing to do what it takes to change it? And that's why I put my face on the line and I try and spread information, try and do what I do, because I care more about just myself. Because if I didn't do this stuff, my life would be a lot better. I'd probably make a lot more money. I'd spend more time working. I'd have a lot less stress. I'd definitely have a lot less people hating on me, wishing death upon me and all this other stuff. But I do it because it's right. And I've had people say, well, why do you do this? Why do you keep going? It's like the whole thing in the third movie of The Matrix, when Neo keeps fighting, what's his name? I forget his name, but the evil guy. And he doesn't give up. And he says, why do you persist? Why do you keep going? You know you're going to lose. And Neo turns around and says, because it's a choice. And that's exactly it. We choose to either do something or do nothing. But there is always a consequence. For every action, there is a separate and opposite reaction. It's the same thing with no action. It's the same thing. If you do nothing, don't expect anything to be different. But if you think in your comfortable little world that you're sitting in, if you think it's going to stay that way forever, then just compare what life used to be for people in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and look at the life of the people today. You think you're freer? You think your money gives you more value? You think that the people around the world are more united and loving? If you do, you're kidding yourself, or you're just part of the paid propaganda problem. Say that 10 times fast. Paid propaganda problem. So I'm going to leave it at that. My job on these videos is not to make sure I get everything right, because I'm only human. I can't prove everything out there. I can't say I get everything right, but it's to question things. It's to not be afraid. It's to care about more than just yourself. Because like they always say, united we stand and divided we fall. And there's a lot of division. And when you ignore the problem, it doesn't go away. And even if it does, that's not good. Spend a year without brushing your teeth. Watch them go away. I guarantee you, you won't be happy about that. Thanks for watching. Spread this information. Peace.